G'day watchers, welcome to Perth Watch, your horology channel broadcasting from right here in Perth, Western Australia. Today I have a rather special piece, I reckon. This is a piece from Peren Watches. I've never heard of them before, but they reached out and sent this lovely watch here. So very simple, just envelope for the watch, leather envelope. Spinability is superb, I have to say. This is at least a 4.5. Out of 5, so because it's perfectly balanced in the middle where the watch is sitting. Now this diver style watch, already you can see it, does come in other options including leather. I'm not gonna put it on the leather because I just don't put divers on leather. That's just me, because you're not gonna go into water with that. This is the NATO strap option that it comes with, and it is a bit of a strap monster, and this is quite an apt option for this watch. So guys, this is the Nera Rogue from Peren Watches. It is quite a lovely diver, I have to say. Now, the inspiration for this watch comes from the vintage diver, apparently one of the rarest divers ever. It's called the Tornek Rayville TR-900. It was a 1960s Navy SEAL diver, a diver that was made for Navy SEALs. Apparently only about 1,000 were ever made. Most of them no longer exist, so it is super rare, and this is a bit of a tribute to that watch. In terms of pricing, this comes in at Swiss francs about 488. That's the listed price, and that's close enough to 500 USD in terms of the converted value for most of you guys who deal in USD. Right, first up, as usual guys, just gonna touch base on the movement here, which is probably as you expect. It is a Swiss-made piece, so this is an SW200. The date wheel, you can see at the 3 o'clock position there, very pleasingly is actually color matched with light colored writing. Something that not a lot of watches at this price does, and it's awesome that they've actually managed to do that. All the other stats, as you can see down the left of screen there. In terms of actual performance accuracy, this is running about plus 12 seconds per day in the roughly 10 days I've had it running. Okay, so moving on to the case then. The case here is a 39mm case, so very moderate size here. 12.8mm on the thickness there. 20mm lug width, as you may expect with a watch of this size, and it is drilled lugs, so that is a pleasing addition there. Lug to lug width is actually longer than you might anticipate. 49mm between my thumbs there, and that's because these kind of very long spindly lugs are somewhat of a tribute, somewhat of a characteristic of that vintage diver that this harkens back to. 92 grams overall weight, either on the leather or the NATO. So, easy to forget that it's on your wrist, but certainly something that you will feel, 92 grams, all the weight, or almost all the weight in the case in this particular model here. In terms of finishing, it's black PVD on the bezel here, and you can see it is a conical bezel with hand knurling. Apparently this conical bezel is a little bit of a unique thing. Let me know if you know other watches with a conical style bezel like this. I certainly cannot recall any off the top of my head. In terms of the finishing of the case, so they describe this as a 3-tone finishing. So it's got a bead blasted base here, and then it's got a very light brush finishing on the top there. And I gotta say, it is pretty damn well done. I mean, at first when I looked at this, I assumed it was titanium, but they've really achieved a very refined finish on the case here. You might not like it, maybe you like polish, but hey, for a utilitarian diver, this is perfectly done, I reckon. The case back is solid, as you can kind of see here. I'm just going to take off the NATO on one side, and already you can see that it's it's very utilitarian, right? Solid screw down case back, but look at all the details there. Very much just telling you what each particular spec is, movement, water resistant and whatnot. You can read the details there. Very nicely done. I like how they've kind of put the details circumferentially out with the loom, for example, production on the on the flange of the case back there. So screw down case back, screw down sign crown, and a large crown with just the utilitarian Peren logo there, right? Large sign crown. The water rating is 200 meters, which is what they've made this watch out to be. All right, just going to strap the NATO back on here before we move on. Okay, so moving on to the dial now. So the dial here is really a matte finish, right? They tell me it's a steel dial, but it's a very much a matte finish. They call it a Nera blue-green, a unique type of color. It's very, very dark, and in many lighting situations, it just looks black. But if you look at it in brighter light, it is a very dark blue-green. It's got embossed indices in 12 positions. And printed details otherwise with a chapter ring on the periphery as well. It's got white colored baton hands and it's got an arrow for the seconds. You know, these are colored white, and good and thick BGW9 treatment on all three hands, all 12 indices, as well as the bezel triangle. Loom shot right here for you guys to see how it looks like in the dark. All right, moving on then. So surrounding the dial is this 120 click, of course 120 click, right? Unidirectional dive style bezel with an insert which is actually made of aluminium. So it's got black PVD treatment, but if you look at the periphery of it, it's, you know, it's got raw metal on the edge there, which gives you that, you know, light circle on the periphery. A lot of detail and thought has gone into this, I reckon. And let's just hear how it sounds. So, you know, 10, 12 clicks roughly there. So it's 120 clicks. Very nice and chunky, but still easy to turn because of the conical grip on the bezel. I have to say this, you know, very positive, no backplay. This is quite possibly the best feeling bezel I have ever dealt with at $1,000 or under. You know, it's really that good. Very well done bezel, I have to say. All right, for all you guys with watch OCD, I'm going to actually turn this back to 12 o'clock to save you guys having any seizures while watching this video. Okay, on top of the dial, flat sapphire crystal. So it's not domed, it's just a flat crystal, 3 coatings of anti-reflective layers, and it's fair. You know, looking at straight on, yeah, it does catch some reflection, but hey, it still looks very legible thanks to its high contrast design, right? Strap-wise, I'm not going to say much about this. This is a NATO, right? It's a nylon strap. You know, it's got those polished hardware, I should say, and nothing too much. You know, this is not a supreme quality NATO. It is just utilitarian. Maybe that is in line with the watch itself. I feel that this could be better, but hey, that's just my opinion about this. Okay, so that's the entire description. Let's put it on a wrist for a wrist shot for you guys now. And there we are, the Peren Nera diver on my 17 centimeter wrist on this, you know, this just black NATO strap here. All right, that's how a NATO will look, and that's how it looks like. So remember, quite long lug to lug for 49 millimeters. The thickness is 12.8. Okay, I think it carries fine on my wrist, but those lugs do stick out a bit. So if you have a narrower wrist, that may be less suitable, right? That's probably the part that's a little bit less proportionate on this watch. Okay, so there you go. That's my description of this watch. Let's just talk about my thoughts now. You know, what I think is good about this watch. I think there is a lot that is positive actually, and it's really quite a well done watch. Beautifully done, I think, with very thoughtful design details, right? That conical bezel, the raw edge on the insert, you know, the bezel insert I've pointed out before, the sloping flange, hopefully you can see some of that detail there. You can see how the indices are inset into cutouts on that sloping flange. Very, very nicely done, you know, little details that you don't have to do, but they've gone ahead and done that. Color match date wheel, I mentioned that already, really cool. A touch of color on the Nera, just a little bit of orangey on the Nera, the 6 o'clock position, to just do a little bit of splash of color on the dial that is otherwise, you know, rather monochromatic. You know, I like the crown, very large and grippy. I imagine that you can operate this even using gloves. Right, overall, you're getting a full spec Swiss-made watch, right? It's got a SW200. They do regulate it in-house. This one's running +12, but hey, I expect that they will aim to do better than that on average. sapphire crystal, 200 meter water resistant, which I'm sure, will withstand ISO testing if they chose to, subject it to that. And it's got a superb 3-tone finish case. The case finish is really quite nicely done, and I like the case spec that I pointed out before. On top of that, a fully capable diver, right? It's got a good BGW9 lume, easily lasts all the way through the night, and the high contrast style is supremely legible in just about all conditions you can dream of. A great bezel. I've pointed out how good this bezel feels, possibly the best bezel under $1,000. Zero playback whatsoever, really well done. And overall, I have to say, just superb minimalistic design here, right? Nomos could be proud of this, right? The numbers only appear where it's absolutely needed, and it's really just on the date wheel. There's no other numbers anywhere. Just minimalistic design, really nicely done. And this is going to be good praise. Quite possibly the best micro brand diver of the year that it came out. I think it came out last year, I'm not sure, but hey, it's the best micro brand diver I likely will touch in 2022. What are the weaknesses? Well, look, I've already said that it's as close to perfect, very, very close to being perfect. I reckon throw in a ceramic bezel where you can achieve the same finish, that would really hit it out of the park. But I'm not sure whether it would be able to achieve that same, raw edge look that this aluminium achieves. Maybe not. Maybe that's why it's aluminium. And the strap, weakest part of the watch, of this package. This should be better. There are better materials, better quality straps out there. They've chosen to go with a fairly utilitarian one. That's kind of okay, I suppose, because you're just going to swap it out, right, with a watch like this. It is an absolute strap monster, just begging you to try it out with other straps, which I have been doing all week. I would love to see how the bracelet is done. If it's anywhere near as good as this case, it would be an excellent bracelet, and I might try to get them to send it to me, and I might post an update if they do. Right, guys, here we go. That's my thoughts on this really rather excellent diver. Let's flip it around now for the wrap up. So there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed that quick fire review. Let me know your thoughts and comments below. Always look forward to the discussion from my viewers. Guys, if you enjoy my videos, do consider subscribing. New content every week, always aiming to be objective and unbiased about all things horology. Thank you again for sticking with me, and as always, I'll catch you guys again next time.